Dan, when I was at NBC about creating IT cosmetics. And she did have the high, I can't even do it, my voice is too low, but she had the high squeaky voice a little, but she's really leaning in now in her little podcast with Megyn. And she's gone next octave up, and the two of them have the weirdest dynamic.
Every claim of oppression, every staged sob story, every desperate grab for the spotlight collapses under Megyn Kelly's razor-sharp dismantling of Meghan Markle. Once celebrated as a modernizer of the monarchy, Meghan is exposed as a broken record of grievances and contradictions. Kelly reveals how the Duchess masterfully twisted privilege into victimhood, fame into failure, and golden opportunity into parody, leaving her stripped of illusions, credibility, and carefully polished mystique. In Kelly's telling, Meghan isn't a bold reformer. She's the reluctant star of her own slow, self-inflicted downfall.
Markle posted a bizarre video on her social media yesterday, which sent several people into absolute meltdown. It is the cringiest, most uncomfortable piece of tape I've seen in a long time. I'm sorry, but I'm going to make you watch it. SOT 24.
1 month, 2 months, 3 months, hit the baby mama when I step into the house.
She's supposedly 9 months pregnant in the hospital room, dancing with a big belly.
Megyn Kelly takes one look at Meghan Markle and immediately detects the unmistakable scent of recycled victimhood dressed up in a designer coat. And it's not just the coat that's overpriced, it's the entire Meghan Markle brand. Kelly wastes no time tearing it apart piece by piece. Megyn has perfected the art of dressing mediocrity as martyrdom, turning every minor slight into a headline. For Kelly, that's far too easy a target to pass up. The Duchess-turned-professional complainer struts as if auditioning for the role of saint of perpetual suffering long after the audience stopped buying tickets to the show.
In this podcast, Megyn does her perfectly curated life thing, but she's allegedly wearing no makeup. Meanwhile, she's got like the perfect blowout, and like she's completely camera ready, except she didn't put eye makeup on. And she also is pretending that she's crying. And we did a zero in, like we zoomed in just to see there isn't a tear in sight. Dan, look.
What Kelly dismantles most effectively is the elaborate charade Megyn built around herself. The Duchess marketed her image as a trailblazer, a humanitarian, a bold voice supposedly silenced by an ancient monarchy. But scratch the surface, and the illusion crumbles. She wasn't silenced at all. She was amplified, celebrated, and catapulted into global fame, only to then insist that the cameras were cruel. Kelly skewers that contradiction with surgical precision, exposing how Megyn managed to become the only person in history to claim herself both oppressed and overexposed in the same exhausting breath, a paradox tailor-made for ridicule.
She is the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time. That is why everything had to be perfectly curated. Who the hell picks fucking berries in a white cashmere blouse and white pants? Literally no one on earth does that. And like this garden, which is like...
Then comes the fairy tale Megyn never wants the world to forget. She loves to retell it, reframe it, and package it like a Netflix miniseries, as if audiences hadn't already endured it a dozen times over. The story of the princess who married into royalty but endured unspeakable injustice inside her palace of gold. Kelly tears into that narrative with relish, pointing out how only Megyn could transform a castle into a cage and a crown into a shackle. For Kelly, the real tragedy isn't Megyn's supposed suffering, it's the weary audience being forced to endure her endless, self-indulgent retelling of it again and again.
To take a close-up look at this. Where's the tear? There's nothing there. Look, it's an actor's trick. She just keeps wiping and wiping and wiping, so we think she has a heart.
Oh my God, Megyn. She has this really famous thing where she says one tap left eye and she can make herself cry on demand. And it's a really good thing to have as an actress. But you're completely right. There were no tears there.
And then there's Harry, the ginger sidekick, whose transformation from prince to podcast husband stands as one of the saddest declines in modern celebrity culture. Kelly doesn't just roast Megyn. She shines a spotlight on how she pulled Harry into the whirlpool of her narrative, reducing him from a decorated veteran and beloved royal into little more than a background prop in her ongoing campaign for sympathy. Kelly likens Harry's role to that of a man who escaped the palace guards, only to find himself imprisoned again, this time by his own wife's relentless PR machine and carefully choreographed victimhood.
Is there too. She's kind of twerky and she's gonna twerk.
Your baby mama, she gon' get that baby mama.
Comes Harry.
She gon' put it on you. She gon' get that baby mama. Drop it, drop it.
She spreads her legs. She hikes her dress. She circles her genitals around and around. Okay. This is deeply problematic on a number of levels.
What cuts deepest is Kelly's demolition of Meghan's obsession with authenticity. Meghan has curated that supposed authenticity like a carefully managed museum exhibit, perfect lighting, staged interviews, and designer dresses all crafted to convince the world she's just like everyone else. Kelly reveals how Meghan transformed relatability into a full-scale performance, standing on stage in Dior while telling working mothers she truly understands their daily struggle. Nothing highlights the absurdity more than Meghan's attempts to describe her life as humble while living in a Montecito mansion, so sprawling it practically needs its own zip code. The hypocrisy begs to be roasted, and Kelly delivers mercilessly. Meghan rails against the toxicity of media attention while conveniently staging pap shots that miraculously appear at just the right moment. But it's the endless cycle of self-reinvention that Kelly savages most. Meghan morphs identities depending on her audience: Hollywood actress, royal duchess, oppressed victim, feminist warrior, Silicon Valley entrepreneur, podcaster, and self-styled philanthropist.
She only has on people who she gave money to so they can say how amazing she is.
Yeah, it's like she's her boss. So like Meghan is Hannah Mendoza's boss, effectively. So clearly she's keeping to the script. But there's this really awful moment where Meghan turns into the mean girl that we know she all is, and she mocks Hannah Mendoza.
The only constant is that every version of Meghan Markle demands applause. Kelly exposes this hunger for validation, showing how Meghan has perfected the art of being endlessly self-congratulatory while pretending she doesn't care what anyone thinks. Kelly also dismantles Meghan's carefully packaged feminist brand. The Duchess loves to speak about breaking barriers, yet Kelly points out her entire career has been built on stepping into powerful institutions she later tears down for headlines. Meghan married into the monarchy, used it for instant global recognition, and then discarded it once the applause wasn't loud enough. She wants to be both insider and outsider, critic and participant, victim and victor all at once. For Kelly, that's not feminism, it's sheer opportunism dressed in feminist clothing. Every time Meghan positions herself as a voice for women, the activism feels less about measurable results and far more about curating the right glossy photographs. Kelly skewers the fakery with precision, turning Meghan's so-called feminism into nothing more than a high-gloss vanity project dressed up as empowerment.
Here's the problem. We don't like you, Meghan Markle. We don't like you. And no amount of posting videos that you think are going to humanize you will make us like you. You've already shown us your true colors. We know who you are. You helped kill the Queen. You didn't give two shits about calling the royal family racist while Prince Philip was on his deathbed and casting aspersions on him. You have completely undermined all the amazing gifts that this family has given you as nothing and suggested that they didn't care you were suicidal and they were the ones who drove you there.
The roast isn't complete without torching Meghan's infamous interview moments, the stage spectacles where tears glisten at precisely the right angle and silence hangs just long enough for dramatic effect. Kelly laughs through these performances, pointing out how Meghan has weaponized fragility, turning it into her greatest superpower. She transforms mild inconveniences into supposed trauma, cold stares into oppression, and private squabbles into sweeping systemic injustice. Kelly's roast is merciless because she exposes the ultimate trick. Meghan's brand isn't built on overcoming hardship, it's built on monetizing it for maximum attention. And then comes the American dream narrative Meghan loves to spin. According to her, she bravely broke away from the monarchy to build an independent life in America. But Kelly shows how independence, in Meghan's dictionary, really means signing multi-million-dollar deals with corporations eager to squeeze profit from royal gossip. Independence means demanding privacy while shopping her story to every platform willing to pay for the drama. Kelly reduces Meghan's version of independence to pure parody, a corporate-sponsored exit strategy masquerading as empowerment with branding stronger than the actual message.
Over the top, like we're all supposed to go, Maureen, to make our breakfast in the morning, out to our gardens and pick our berries, our raspberries, our strawberries, our blueberries, our snozberries, and cut our mint, and then cut our flowers that are edible. But don't worry, she's a woman of the people. You can grow those just on your windowsill at home in New York, your edible flowers.
And don't forget your local beekeeper.
Yeah.
Your local beekeeper.
Oh, yeah, because she has a bee hive, which she goes to. That's how they open the whole series with her bees. And like, don't worry, if you don't have this, just go to your local beekeeper. Clearly, we're living in different...
Even Meghan's carefully manufactured relatability doesn't escape the fire. Kelly highlights how Meghan never misses an opportunity to compare herself to ordinary people, as if the audience is supposed to nod along in solidarity while sipping coffee in their cramped apartments and worrying about rent. But the Duchess of Montecito has no grasp of the ordinary struggle. Her greatest crisis was whether her custom gown would match the palace's mood or whether her tiara choice photographed well. Kelly dismantles that charade with biting sarcasm, painting Meghan as the world's most relatable celebrity. What makes Kelly's roast so lethal is that it strips Meghan of her one true weapon, control of the narrative. Meghan thrives on framing herself as misunderstood, persecuted, and unfairly judged, yet Kelly's takedown doesn't allow her that escape hatch. The truth is simple. Meghan was handed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to modernize the monarchy, to inject relevance and energy into an institution gasping for air. Instead, she chose to torch bridges, monetize grievance, and retreat to California, where she could repackage her title as a product while loudly pretending she no longer cared about it.
That would really show, the crack in the facade. I have trouble believing that, because she right now wants to maintain the facade and wants us all to believe that it's perfect in Montecito, welcome to Montecito time, where we have champagne with fruit dollops inside of it at all hours of the day. But anyway, why would she risk that news coming out by actively shopping? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, she's a deeply manipulative woman.
Kelly calls it what it is, the greatest missed opportunity of modern celebrity. A fall from grace engineered not by oppression, but by self-obsession. At the heart of Kelly's roast lies the reminder that Meghan Markle's story isn't tragic, it's tedious. The endless retellings, the manufactured drama, the staged reinventions, all of it blurs into monotony. Meghan isn't a fallen star, she's a broken record. And Kelly makes it brutally clear the audience long ago stopped playing it. Kelly also hammers Meghan's relentless obsession with Hollywood validation. The irony is delicious. An actress of modest talent who once struggled to land steady work suddenly imagined she could rebrand herself as Hollywood royalty by marrying into actual royalty. Kelly dissects that desperation with surgical precision, showing how Meghan's entire career has been one endless audition tape, except now the audience is global and the acting hasn't improved. Even the much-hyped Netflix documentary becomes low-hanging fruit, a glossy PR reel masquerading as depth, and Kelly slices it apart with relish.
She gave an interview to People magazine. And in the People magazine article, she says she loves building this safe haven and show with her daughter, and as part of her As Ever brand. And she says, being able to have my own little girl, as I've spent so much of my life championing the rights of girls and women, and to be able to see this as a multi-generational story. Archie is, of course, included in that. My husband is, of course, included in that. But I love the heritage feeling of it, and knowing this is something that I can create in front of my daughter and teach her what it's like to be a working mom. This is not what it's like.
Kelly notes that the so-called inside look at Harry and Meghan's truth ended up being nothing more than a glossy highlight reel of complaints nobody ever asked to see. It wasn't storytelling. It was score-settling disguised as entertainment. Kelly roasts the absurdity of watching two multimillionaires lounge in their sprawling Montecito mansion, lamenting how impossibly difficult their lives have supposedly been. It's not a documentary, Kelly argues. It's a reality TV show without the self-awareness to recognize it's already a parody of itself. Even Meghan's podcast gets its turn under Kelly's scalpel. The project was hyped as a reinvention of podcasting, with deep conversations and empowering narratives, but it fizzled out with barely a ripple of impact. Kelly seizes on this failure, pointing out that Meghan's podcast was less about amplifying other voices and far more about amplifying Meghan's own ego. Every episode circled predictably back to her struggles, her brilliance, her endless victimhood. It wasn't an exploration of ideas. It was therapy disguised as content creation, and even Spotify eventually realized it wasn't worth the investment. Kelly also demolishes Meghan's hollow attempts to position herself as a global stateswoman. The Duchess loves photo ops with world leaders, standing at podiums as if she had been elected to something, but Kelly exposes the emptiness of it all. Meghan hasn't built policy, negotiated treaties, or led real movements. She's taken glamorous pictures in expensive dresses and spoken in vague circles about empowerment. Kelly savages this duplicity, making it clear that Meghan doesn't actually hate the media, she only hates not being able to control it. The roast goes even deeper, zeroing in on Meghan's desperate rebranding as a Silicon Valley adjacent entrepreneur, another mask in her rotating gallery of identities.
Absolutely no love lost between her and most people who may be somewhat warm towards the royal family, even if we're not big on royalty. She's reportedly bullied virtually everybody who's ever worked for her. She can't keep a staff in London. She can't keep a staff in Montecito. She's a bully. She's obsessed with her own ego, face on television, etc., and playing the victim. So no amount of humanizing videos, even if she managed to find one, are going to work.
You know, from vague lifestyle brands to hollow wellness slogans, Meghan has worked overtime trying to convince the world she's the next Gwyneth Paltrow. But Kelly makes it brutally clear, none of it sticks because Meghan's brand has never been about substance. It's always been about self-promotion. Even her rumored projects feel like half-baked PR stunts, designed to generate a quick headline before quietly fading into oblivion. But perhaps the most vicious strike Kelly delivers is aimed at Meghan's chronic inability to take responsibility. Every failure, every scandal, every public backlash gets conveniently blamed on someone else. The palace, the press, racism, misogyny, outdated tradition. Kelly dismantles that pattern with ease, showing how Meghan has perfected the art of outsourcing blame. The Duchess never stumbles, she is always pushed. She never alienates, she is always misunderstood. The question, Kelly argues, is whether Meghan will be remembered as a trailblazer or simply as the Duchess who cried victim, cashed in, and squandered the opportunity of a lifetime. Kelly makes the answer sound inevitable. Meghan chose the latter, because while she continues to chase headlines, she has built nothing of lasting value. Fame is fleeting. Influence requires substance. And substance is the one thing Meghan never delivered.